clean it up. That will guarantee you a nice, smooth, accurate finish. Now we want to go through to the next wall on the other side, and we want to make sure that it's all nice and neat and true. And obviously, if you had a big long drill bit, you think you could just go straight through on the corner, straight through the other side. The fact that we're not going to use that technique is actually to our advantage, because what happens is when you drill through a wall, when it comes out the other side, it's going to bust open and it's going to damage, like, it's not going to be a neat drill hole. The neat drill hole will be on the side you're going in from. So what I've done, basically just got one of my bits of wood, again not the aircon, slotted it in true and square, just side it up with your eye. You can get a spirit level if you want, you can get a square in there if you want to make sure it's square, whatever suits your fancy, but I generally just use your eye. If it looks straight and true, it probably is. If it looks, you know, get it on a funny angle, it probably is. So just do that, square it up, and then mark in with a pencil on the wall on the other side, and find your corners on the other side of the wall. I have pre-done this and marked it then with a felt tip pen or a Sharpie, whatever you want to call it, and then fill that in for the sake of the photograph. But it's actually to our advantage as well, because when we go to slice that with the grinder to go neaten it up, because there's dust everywhere, you can see the dark felt tip pen line better than you can see a pencil line. So do that anyway. Because then once you've got a hole, we can easily just measure across and up as to where it is to that corner, going on the other side, if it's like 5mm, 15mm, whatever it is, and then find your corner and then drill from the other side inwards. And then you can check it, come back out here, check that it's come out in the right spot. If it isn't, if you haven't done it quite right, filling up and putting up a little small hole is easy, rather than going at it with the grinder and find, oh darn it, you put the whole thing out of whack. Okay, so now that we have the exact measurements of where it is we want to cut it, we know where it is on the other side, that is now irrelevant, we've marked it all down. What we really want to do is take advantage of the fact that we now can get at both sides of the brick. We didn't have that advantage on this face, but we now have it on the other face. And the other face is really crucial because that's the inside of the house and we want it all to be neat. And the way to achieve that is to scribe an outer point so that it doesn't go past anywhere where we want it to be. And what we were going to do is wear safety glasses, and we're going to make sure that we're COVID-19 protected. There you go. Now the grinder can't get a virus, and you can put one of these on so you don't have to listen to me talk. But the point of all this is I've taken off the cover guard. Extremely dangerous, but I've done this so that I can get as close as I can into that line. Now, to ensure success of a beautiful cutout in this, you should find 9 times out of 10 you will have at least one whole brick that fills this void. That's what you want to go for first. Once we've removed that brick, the rest of it becomes a piece of cake. Alright, so this is what I've done. Just once I've gotten that outside edge done, and you can see up the top I have come in on a bit of an angle there, but that's what we're after. That's when I made the mistake on. That was 55mm, not 45, so double check your work. We should come down through to there and we should see that hole. But what we do want to do though, is we want to remove this whole brick first. Okay, so I'm going to drill a hole in this corner here, one in that corner, one in that corner, and then one in that corner. So then I know exactly where this brick is. So they can then, I'll just grind cut from the other side exactly to that brick, and we'll attack this brick first. Once we've removed that, the rest becomes dead easy. Just on the inside corner of where I want my mark to be, and we're going to use that to go then go to the outside and double check that we've got it right. Okay, so there you go, there's an idea what I mean. It's just nice and neat, whereas that busting through the other side, you know, makes it a terrible mess. But then so that doesn't matter where that is, as long as we've got our measurements. Of course that's reversed because we did it from the other side. But, basically that's what you're after, that sort of thing. But just don't go at it with a grinder till you're absolutely certain that that we're all good to go. Go for that top edge first to protect that outer edge. That's the whole goal. I don't care what happens in here. We want that outer edge to be neat. There will be a surround going around it anyway. So you've got it. I'm going to use a piece of 42 by 19 pine and mold it myself to match. We'll show you that later. But you might even use a big piece of skirting if you wanted something like that with different chamfer and go a good 60 mil all the way around. So if you did make an error, you can hide it, no problem. But it's still best to try and avoid it as much as possible. It just is, you know what I mean? Like, try and avoid not having that happen. And it is possible to put it in neatly like this and not have a surround at all, because you can always get some putty, some plaster, and smear it in on the inside, paint it up, and you can get it looking absolutely smick with no surround, if that's the way you want to go. But I'm going to go surround to demonstrate what it looks like and how to hide errors. And it can be done even if you make a mistake and you're not confident. That's okay. It's easy to hide. It's easy to fix it. We'll go for the corners later, because obviously with the grinder I can't go beyond that, so there's always that curve out at the edge. That's why we're going to go for this brick first. Go for this middle one. Mortar first. So as I crack it in, and I want to lift this brick in to get it out, so give it somewhere to lift, somewhere to go. Now that we've peeled off the first layer of the internal wall bricks, which is much easier to get at than the external ones, it has 4 layers and 3 cavities. Now that, because we've only got a small grinder, now that we've taken away the first layer, we can now get right the way through it with the rest of the remaining distance. So there's no need to have a great big giant, $1 million grinder. A little one will do the trick. And now that we're at this stage as well, you're pretty much guaranteed that this outer edge here is going to stay nice and neat. It's because you've gone right past that point. You're now attacking the bit behind it. All this should remain intact unless you do something silly. When installing the unit, go from the outside inwards, not from the inwards out, because you don't want to, if you're going to scratch anything, scratch the front part because you don't see it. Now, one thing you certainly don't want is for a begurgular to just simply be able to grab your air conditioning and rip it out of the wall, or just push it in and break into your house. The easiest way to do that, of course, is you've got to screw it in from the inside framework. You can go on all 4 sides. I'm just going to go on the bottom and in the top. That's enough. Realistically, you won't be able to budget from there. We've got brackets to put in. It'll be fine. But I'm going to make sure we get that right. So I just tend to have a pre-drilled hole. There's already, because it's a second-hand unit, there's already holes already there. And get a Sharpie. Make sure that you're lined up. If you want to, go outside and get a square, and then make sure that from the back of the unit that it's nice and square to the house. It's not sitting crooked. Gives you one chance to screw that up. But in this case, I've already done that. So I'm pretty happy with where that is. I've brought it in a tiny bit, and I've actually brought it in about 5 to 7 millimeters. And I'll show you later on why that is. You don't want this here flush to the wall. You don't want that. You want to bring it in a tiny bit, because I'm putting a surround on it. But there's another reason. You can put it dead flush to the wall, but you're making life harder for yourself later. And I will show you a little bit later when we get to that. So I'm happy with that. I know it's square outside, so that looks good. You may, in the process of chiseling it out, there may be hollow points depending on what your brickwork is, so you may need to check as to where it is you can get a screw to go into. So you may need to tap that in correctly on your so the way to do that is with a pencil. Mark, off the side. Okay, you've got a solid bit of brick, say right here. So mark up and down, just that point right there, that you know where the solid brick. It's a good place to drill into. and then line up with that pencil mark in through here. You can then put a dot, drill a proper hole through the tin. You can double check it, say yep, that's good, because there's no point in trying to put a hole, you know, marking point and realise you're in a cavity of the brick. You want it somewhere solid. But, you'll figure that out. Same with the sides. I'm going to bother with the sides because the sides is quite gappy. I don't think it's really necessary. To top and bottom from these spine as we're putting brackets on this. A small unit like this, if you screw it in well around the inside here, all four sides, you probably find you won't need brackets. It's quite a small unit. Larger ones definitely, but I'm going to put them in anyway. I like the idea of this not twisting in any way, and let's give the example as for any size air conditioning, no matter what. When choosing a screw to put in here, go with one with a relatively flat head. Whether the camera's focusing on that, I'm not too sure. I'm filming by myself right now. But because you don't want anything that's going to be like, you don't go a countersunk wood screw or something like that, because there's a chance that the head will stick up. So when you go to slide the air conditioning in, it could hit it. You want something, you know, something like that, like a nice flat top there, like that one. The handheld screwdriver's alright, but I'm running out of time. I'm spending so much time messing around with cameras, and I can't find that hole, so I'm going to have to get a torch and line that up correctly. Excellent.